Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me in the speed shop. It is finally that time of year to break out the on-road stuff. I'm really super excited about it. It's one of my favorite aspects of the hobby. I actually named my channel kind of off of that. So what I want to do today, though, is focus on the speed run aspect. I like the on-road stuff for many reasons, but I'm going to stick to this category today. And I thought I would do that by doing a walkthrough on the car that I'm currently building. So I'm going to go over some of my trials and errors, basically what I've learned, and I'm going to cover some of the specialty parts, some of my future goals and plans. But I think that should cover it and give you a good idea as far as what what it kind of takes. So this car is going to have enough power in it to do 150 miles an hour. But the fact of the matter is, once you get over 90, really, it starts to take a little bit more than just adding power. It requires some skill, some precision, and really some practice also. But I'm going to cover what I can. Let's get started. All right, let's get started on the Arrma Limitless. Oh, you know what? Let's make it all about the car. Let's happily transition myself right on out the picture. There we go. Okay, Arrma Limitless. As far as I know, this is the only speedrun car, intentionally made speedrun car that you can buy off the shelf. This is what it looks like. It looks kind of like a F1 car or something along those lines. A open wheel car. You can see the bottom is very flat, and you can also check out my Arrma Skins chassis protector, track punisher. Thought that looked pretty cool. Flipping it back over, there's a lot that has gone into aero on this car. Aero is surprisingly important. I've been blown away by how important it is. Basically, you take this car out and try to run at 60 miles an hour without the shell on and without this spoiler, and you'll barely be able to handle it, if at all. You just don't handle very well. It requires downforce to function very well. And Arrma knows that, but they did build in some stuff for us speedrunners to help us out. For instance, this spoiler is good, as it says, for probably up to about 80 miles an hour, I'm guessing. But from there, you're going to have to start trimming it down. You can see these lines they put on there to where you can cut this down and keep your side to help keep it straight, but a little less downforce. It'll actually stop you from getting the higher speed, just that inch and a half there. It's insane. But I mean, you think about putting your hand out the window and what it does at 60 miles an hour. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to remove the body shell now. And as you can see, we have an all aluminum chassis. We have differentials in the front and rear, which I'm going to have to change. We want those to be locked or with spools in them. Oil-filled shocks, even have sway bars front and rear. It is designed to be, you can make it pretty stiff, about as stiff as you want, which is important for a speed run car. It's going to be trying to achieve 100 plus miles an hour. All right, so some of the parts, going to start off with, this is a PPS, it's preferred, or practical prototypes. Yeah, practical prototypes. And they have this machined motor mount, which is just absolutely amazing. One is gorgeous. If you can just look at the, if I can get rid of that glare a little bit, look at the machine work on this. It's one of the best looking parts on the car. Okay, and it's a very high strength, 70-75 aluminum, I believe. And this is a three-piece motor mount they're showing here. But what's genius about it is it's the only one with a set screw that you can adjust your mesh. And your mesh is how tight the gear is. These two gears are together. You don't want them touching. You want them just a little bit of space so they don't get hot and you have the least amount of rolling resistance. This makes that job easy, especially if you're swapping out pinion gears, often trying to get where you want to be. Next after that is going to be the center part here. Pull that out. This is called a spool, and on most of your cars, this is just going to be a differential. It's going to help you with your handling, especially on curves. But we're not taking curves. This is all about going fast. So, a company named Scorched RC likes to make a lot of things out of titanium. So, this is some titanium shafts I'm going to show you here in just a second. But It is completely locked up, and he has lengthened this so you can run a shorter drive shaft in the rear. It's genius. Let me show you. These companies, aftermarket companies, take the parts and just make them better. It's awesome. Okay, this is your stock drive shaft right here for the Arrma Limitless infraction felony. Basically, it sits back here and it starts to actually bend and warp and causes lots of vibrations, power loss. It actually starts to smack this center brace right here. Lots of different side effects once you get up over that 80-mile-an-hour point. If you just got a car that you're running on 6S and you're just trying to have fun with it, you may not need to replace this. But if you're going for true high speeds, this has got to go. Then you're going to end up with something like this. This is also titanium. So this is a titanium drive shaft for the rear. It is much thicker than the stock one, as you can see. Very rigid. It is not going to bend, flex, nothing. Not only that, but it's also lighter. So that rotating mass the motor has to turn, it's going to make it, it will help make it faster. It'll make it more responsive. But here, let me just give you an example, because this is the front drive shaft, also titanium. Let me show you the differences here. Let's see if I can get this to show up. Okay, so you can see that's on 0. Now if I put the stock drive shaft on there, you can see that we're just hovering right around that 7 grams right now. Down to 6. And this is a bigger part. It's thicker, but it weighs less. So that's the great part about titanium. Also, your rolling resistance is really important. Up until I started doing speed runs, I didn't really pay attention. Just wanted to, make sure it rolled. But most of your off-road cars, most of your RC cars are not going to just roll back and forth like that. What I've done is I put ceramic bearings in, and which allows it to spin freely like that. You need all of your components to spin without resistance. It's going to be a huge part that's going to help you get up to that next level of speed. So we've got our spool from Scorched RC. We've got our titanium drive shafts. We've got our motor mount installed. We're going to have some batteries. These are extremely powerful batteries from SMC. They're going to sit right here and here. And they have a large milliamp because as you start to draw power, the voltage is going to drop. So when you have something like an 8,000 milliamp battery, it's going to actually draw, keep the voltage more consistent. I've got something else, another part to help with that as well. But this basically is going to provide us with everything we need. And it's about 30 volts of power because these are going to run in series together as one battery. So I prefer SMC out of everything I've tried. So far, China Line Hobby has seemed to be good. I really haven't had any problems with those that were fault of theirs. But SMC, when you start looking at the high-end batteries, are actually pretty reasonably priced. Let's see, what do I want to cover next? Got batteries. Let's go ahead and start getting into the electronics. Kind of save them for last because I've really overcomplicated them. But there's a lot of information I'd like to have. So to start with, this is a Castle 1717 motor. It's a 1650 kV, which is kind of high for a 8S system. Is what this is at 30 volts I was talking about. Typically, you'll be closer to 1,000, but it's not a huge can either. It's not a giant motor, but what is giant though is what's going to power it, and that is this. This is the Speedrun Legend right here. It's basically a Castle XLX2. It's a censored ESC. I'm going to run it on 8S. I think it's a 300 amp ESC, but it has something like 1,500 or 1,200 amp peak, as in like a burst, insane amount of power that this can generate. And then I was talking about trying to maintain voltage levels. Then I have the Ripple Killer. 8S cat pack, which is also soldered onto my ESC. And this helps protect from ripple effect. Now, as you can imagine, you're trying to get an RC to do over 100 miles an hour, you need room. In order to have room, you need reception. So I've done something kind of different. I'm going to just get the Limitless out of the way here. A lot of people add like boosters and whatnot to their radio. It requires a whole other battery, a cooling fan, all kinds of different stuff. This is what I've done, have good success, is use this. Let's see if I can bring you in a little bit more. It's not be so far away anymore. Zoom it in a little bit. There we go. Turn this around. Is use this Skyfly receiver. So Skyfly is who I use for all my models. It's what I prefer. The NB4, the Noble, is an amazing radio. But this is actually for an airplane, and it's 10 channels, which is very convenient. Your typical radio is probably set up anywhere from 300 to 700 yards, I believe. You're going to want more than that. So this is actually rated to go up to 3,500 yards. Now, mind you, I'm sure that's as as a crow flies or whatever, line of sight kind of distance, but it gives me more than I've ever needed as far as I never ran out of range. Okay, with this, so this was a nice thing to find that I could use. Now, with that, I have some learning to do here that I'm going to be working on, but I have this extension which allows me to plug in a bunch of sensors. I'm actually going to be able to look at my radio and tell some key components that I'd usually have to stop and remove the top and check and see what's going on. So first and foremost, I have let's see what this fella is. This is a voltage meter. It can let me know what my voltage of my batteries are if I want to try to do like another pass or if I want to stop. That should be my last pass. Time to give the batteries a break. Then after that, I have a temperature sensor. You want to keep your motor, around that 150 or less range. Same thing with the ESC. They're going to be pushing, 500 amps or whatever during peak. With 30 volts, they're going to get warm, especially with the gearing I'm going to be using. And then we have another voltage meter, so one for each battery. And then we have another temperature sensor. So I want a temperature sensor on the motor, the ESC, and then I want voltage on each side for the battery. And then lastly, I believe I have a speed sensor. Yes, this is a magnetic speed sensor, and to be determined if it's going to end up on the car, because it's a little bit complicated to hook up, but I'm going to do my best. Another specialty parts, I'll show that last. So we've got all these sensors. I have never hooked up not even one sensor to an RC, but these are relatively inexpensive, and I'm putting a lot of effort into this, so I figure I might as well have everything, all the sensors I can have. Moving that to the side. My servo is just going to be, something average. It doesn't require nothing too crazy. Just reliable is what matters. Next is my fans. So I'm going to try something different with the fans. I don't know if it's going to work, but fan noise really gets on my nerves. And when I slow down and I'm coming to a stop and I'm doing a couple other things, it makes me feel anxious, like it's just constantly draining my battery. So I want to be able to adjust the speed of that for my radio. And I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try. I just got a little cheap brushless or brushed ESC, and I'm going to try to power these server fans with the ESC and be able to control it on the dial on my radio. So I make my pass, full run, and then when I come back and I'm going to let it set for a minute, but I'm not turning it off, I can just kind of turn that down a little bit. Still going, but just not so crazy, insane loud. So using two of the server fans, got a 3D mount to suck that through, but fans was another surprising deal. I would have thought it was more of a gimmick, 5 degrees or something like that. These guys are a 30 plus degrees difference between having it and not having it. So that's what I got for you today. I hope I've given you some information, a little bit of the inside track as far as what's going on with speedruns. Oh, one last specialty part to show you here. So last time I did this, anytime I needed something, I just kind of made it myself, which I enjoy. But there's some people out there that have much better tools and more equipped to do so. So I had like carbon fiber attached on here and all kinds of stuff. But this year and this go around, I have an XLX ESC mount. It's specifically built for it. To set this ESC down right between your batteries, lower your center of gravity, keep everything centered. Boom. I mean, that's going to look beautiful right there. So, did want to show you that. But as I was saying, I hope that gave you a kind of an inside track as far as what's going on. My personal best so far, my top speed is 112 miles an hour. And I actually hit that, almost a year ago. Last Father's Day on Kearney Street, of all places, during the day. Now, I don't have that car anymore because while I was trying to beat that record, I actually crashed it into a concrete fence post. And that, I didn't think it was possible to total out. I really didn't think it was possible to total out an RC car because every part's replaceable, but I sure enough did. I mean, I can't even explain. I wish I had it in here so I could show it to you. I think it hit that post at about 90, I would say. It's just not much left on it at all. The chassis is completely bent. The whole rear end is ripped off somehow. But anyways, thanks for checking out Speed Shop. Look forward to seeing some future videos of me actually trying to run this thing. I just need to get my butt in gear and get it finished. All right, thanks for watching. How do I stop it? Stop it. Stop recording me, please.